Hello everyone and welcome back to the bonus videos for Let's Play the Journeyman Project 3 Legacy of Time. Time to tackle the missed things we had in El Dorado. El Dorado doesn't have a lot of extra things in it, but, well, it has more things in terms of the destroyed department than it does the other time zones. For instance, there's a hint apparently that does not pop up for me in terms of removing the rock from the well. If you remember, the other hint for this was...
There is a rock blocking the slab from covering the drain. Remove it, and ye shall be king.
No, wait a minute. I'm Arthur.
Remove it, and it won't block the drain anymore.
Which is all fine and good, it's wonderful, but apparently there's supposed to be another hint. Doesn't show up for me.
If you move the rock gauge, we can cover the drain, fill this well with water, ride the rush of water to the top of the well, and get on with endangering your life!
Another ruined hint that I didn't find was most likely something to do with the house here. Now, of course, you can go in and inspect the damage, but apparently Arthur is supposed to have a hint revolving around this or something else in terms of destruction.
Looks like some lucky person just earned the Arson Merit Badge.
There's also another hint that corresponds to finding something to put on this in order to pull the balloon down to us. I can't think of a reason for why it won't show up for me. Well, actually, I can, but I can't figure out how to not have the other hint show up because you kind of pass by the wheel in order to get out of the well. So I keep getting the let's improvise hint. But the other hint is this.
You're not going to be able to pull down that balloon by hand. I know it's a balloon, but its buoyancy makes it difficult to bring down. We're going to need some mechanical leverage.
With a hint like this, I kind of feel like there's some way of not seeing the wheel on the well at all, but I don't know how to actually pull that off. Supposedly there's another comment also on this balloon. Again, don't know how to actually make it show up. But the comment kind of connects to this balloon in particular just by the context of what Arthur says.
Great. No time code, and I think we've run out of balloons. Should we start frisking pigeons now?
And that's it for destroyed El Dorado. Look at all the balloons in the air. I didn't know there was that many over there. Which one do you think is the warrior's balloon? Probably the one that was already shot down. But don't worry, we'll be seeing him soon enough. So let's warp back to yesterday and check out all the rest of the things that we missed. Alright, all nice and peaceful here. So let's begin going over what we missed. First off, actually, is getting the proper first disguise of this time zone. And not the farmer, because apparently you can also get him first as well, because he's not paying attention. But there's some different things that can be said about over here by Mr. Destiny himself. But there is a hint connected to pretty much just capturing his disguise. And it's pretty great.
There's a sleeping boy over by the well. Go wake him up.
Kinda wish I could and then freak him out. It'd give him more of like an emotional performance. But now that we have the farm boy disguise of Acheo, we're actually able to go speak to his father now. How cool. The only reason why we're doing this is because I did not speak to him a second time as Acheo.
What is it, son?
Nothing, I just have a big huge sword. I'm just gonna go play for a while, okay?
Goodbye, Father.
Don't fall asleep on your sword. It's very pointy. Oh dear. That's a terrible picture. Now, something interesting about this point is that there's some dialogue with the warrior that I'm not able to actually get working properly. One has to do with the Cheo, and the other one has to do with the scribe, Shebo. Both of them have a secondary, or I guess in the Cheo's case, a tertiary response from the warrior, depending on whether or not the farmer came back and is looking for the son. I can't get either of them to work though, but I do have them, so I'll show them off here right now.
Stop where you are! Your father was just here looking for you. Go back to your farm. Stop where you are! You seem to have been stricken by wanderlust, Shebu. Have you lost your desire to work? Hopefully no aviator suffers from your distractions today. I have been distracted too long from my watch. You must go now!
However, the real reason why we're here, other than the unused dialogue that I can get working, is that there's an alternate way of cutting the balloon rope. It's kind of a cooler way in order to do it. You see, the game doesn't really specify what kind of blade you need in your inventory, but logic dictates in terms of the quickest blade in order to get, in terms of going to Shangri-La, that would be the garden knife, because it's just lying around. But if you're willing to do some extra work, and go through the time zone a little bit more, you're able to go and pick up Genghis Khan's sword. And that is a suitable blade in order to do the same thing. It even has a different animation, and if you remember the item description, it's blood-stained. Great attention to detail that it does show the blood stain on the sword when you put it out, because this is the only way that you're actually able to see whether or not it's blood-stained or not. Item descriptions going the great way leaps and bounds. Now, in terms of El Dorado compared to the other time zones, I did say before that it felt a little bit short. And to be honest, I kind of feel that it really is. There's not a lot of... While it does feel really big, in terms of the time zone, it's actually the smallest out of them all. Atlantis kind of feeling the biggest because it's split into different nodes. In fact, the only two items that you really get in this place are the gold leaf and the flint talisman. And other than that, there's only... The only reason why you have to go here is that Atlantis you need the gold leaf, and from Shangri-La you need the knife in order to continue, and otherwise it's completely cut off, which is weird. But anyway, continuing on, skipping past pretty much everything in order to get the talisman from Cheo, I didn't actually talk to him as the father.
Good morning, Father. I was taking a short nap, but I'll be up and at those chores very, very soon.
It's been hours, son. But yeah, even as the father, you can ask him about the talisman. And he has a different line for it.
Son, could I borrow that little talisman the shaman gave you?
No, Father. The shaman told me not to give it to anyone. It was meant for me.
There's also an additional piece of dialogue for the same option that for some reason isn't used, but is in the game files.
Yes, that's it, son. Could I borrow that for a little while?
It's rather odd that something like that would actually be a thing. In addition to the father having a different piece of dialogue for the same option, the shaman also does as well, simply in terms of tone. If you remember from the playthrough, Arthur kind of had a weird tone, had the strange silly tone to asking about Cheo's dreams.
Interesting. Tell me about your dreams.
But there's also an unused piece of dialogue for the same option that's just regular tone. Maybe because it was just kind of too ordinary.
Interesting. Tell me about your dreams.
So now if we get the talisman, go straight to the pool, and start fiddling around with the heads, there's actually one additional hint that we actually get, which covers, well, not going to the balloon first. And wondering what all these heads are for.
According to the great story, the air spirit showed the first shaman where to hide the totem. Maybe we could take the shaman's balloon and see if we can find some clues about the totem's resting place.
So we do exactly that, head up onto the balloon and take a look at the temple on the top. But there's also another hint up here that we didn't see before, and it has to do with the brothers fighting over the pool. You see, there's a hint that apparently shows up when you find out the minimal amount in order to get to this point here. So, skipping a lot of the dialogue with the shaman in order to just get straight to the point about the talisman, and never reading about the great story and the mural on the temple. Apparently, if you do this, you will get this hint.
Look at the arrow-shaped pool down below. See the two birds poised over the pool? They almost seem to be fighting over it.
And then finally, we head back down to the fire element. And the wall of flame that blocks our path, along with the lava. The only difference with this hint is that it sounds very similar to another hint that we got, because it actually mentions the heat miser. But the difference between this is that in our playthrough, we at least took the talisman out and refilled the pool once. And this time, we don't know that removing the talisman fills up the pool. And thus this hint comes up.
In the great story, a young man defeats fire by convincing water to help. On the wall mosaic in the scribe's room, the young man wore the talisman that you used to drain the lake. What if removing the talisman from the pedestal causes water to refill the pool? With the earth door open, the water might flood into the fire corridor and extinguish the heat miser.
And that's kind of it for El Dorado. I don't really have anything history-wise in order to go over that I didn't really want to go over, or anything hidden didn't really pop up for me. But that kind of makes this area feel a little bit smaller as well. Kind of wish we were able to go over to that peninsula over there, but that can't be helped. But yeah, it is the shortest of the three, and it kind of feels shorter as I go through it and try to find everything that I can. Because there's a lot more in Atlantis and Shangri-La than there is in El Dorado. It's more of a connecting area than the other two. But dang, is it pretty. Now there is one last thing that I want to show off, and El Dorado is kind of the perfect place to do it. And it's another mode that you're able to do in this game if you want to just speed by really quickly. Now, I know I said before that you're able to go into turbo mode by holding the control key, but what if you just want to go turbo all the time without repeatedly pressing on the control key? Well, in the game options, you can actually turn on turbo mode, or turbo lock mode. And by that, you're able to hit the caps lock key, and that will instantly put you into turbo mode. All the time, doesn't matter. The fun thing about turbo mode, actually, is that not only does it speed up your movement, but it also speeds up most of Arthur's automatic messages. I believe all of them, actually. So, you get fun things like this. Remember the song that Arthur has for the balloon? Well, let's hear it in 3 to 4 times speed.
Would you like to ride my beautiful balloon? Up and away, my beautiful yacht.
Kinda glares at you too. But yes, very fun kind of thing to just see there. But that is going to be it for El Dorado. Hope you enjoyed this little tour, and I hope you enjoyed the remix song. Next time we're going to head over and fill out the rest of Shangri-La. There was a lot in Shangri-La. I have a lot to talk about, because it's certainly the most complex out of all three of them. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time, everyone.